What's going on, everybody? Drake Bill here with another video. Today we have a shop video going down for you guys. Everybody's been dying for a shop video and we have the perfect car to do a video on. So let's get started. I'm going to explain to you what is getting done to this car. So it's a 2022 Ford Mustang GT 5.0 10-speed. He's here for long tube headers, Pro Charger, D1X, what else? A full Ford Innovations return style fuel system, a one-piece drive shaft, 2,000 horsepower axles, cradle lockouts, vertical lockouts, BMR diff lockouts, adjustable camber arms, BMR drag springs. He's getting the whole 9 yards top to bottom. Right now he's bone stock besides a tune only on E85. So we're going from basically bone stock to full bolt-on and Pro Charge D1X with a full system, all the suspension dialed in, everything. Right now, so far, we have the engine kind of torn apart because we're doing the oil pump gear and crank sprocket as well. That is part of the list, and I'll go through it with you guys right now. Let me show you. But beforehand, follow me on Instagram at DrakeBuilt, and also copy fire-ass merch, DrakeBuiltPerformance.com. Link is in the description. Let's go. So here's the car. Got the manifold pulled off, throttle body intake, valve covers, timing cover, all the pulleys and everything else. The battery is removed, and so far, this is before pulling everything off. All he's doing is oil pump gear and crank sprocket. The oil pan is dropped so far as well. And afterwards, we're gonna drain a little bit of coolant. Sometimes drips down. We're gonna drain that out and then put some fresh oil in it. Here's his long list of parts: long tube headers, the springs, a bunch of the lockouts, ARP, hardware all throughout for the phaser bolts, crank bolt, everything else. Carbon fiber steering wheel with the LEDs. Got the oil and filter, of course. We're doing diluted water, distilled water, and water wetter. It runs cooler that way. What else do we have? His axles. Oh yeah, Viking shocks as well. Axles and everything else. But yeah, this is what it looks like when you have to do oil pump gear and crank sprocket. Some people leave on the manifold and the valve covers and just kind of lift them up a little bit, but that's just the lazy way of doing it. It takes 10 minutes to put everything else off, so it makes it much easier having everything else out of the way. This car has like 6,000 miles. This thing's damn near brand new. These are also not going to work. We're going to have to get him some welds, some bead locks or something with 305/45, ET Street R or SS, anything of his choice. This car's about to make 1,000 wheel. We have some more parts here. We have the intercooler. It's a stage 2 D1X kit. This is the whole kit. It's used, but there's about 100 miles on this kit. The customer that we pulled this car or the blower off of, he really needed the money. He had some problems he had to fix, so we did a deal trade for this kit. I repaired his car and everything else, and then now this customer bought this kit. Big boy blower, D1X, let's go. This is another build that's gonna go down soon. It's a Gen 150 S197. He's getting a Gen 3 bottom end and a couple other goodies along with it. That should be coming real soon. So here is the oil pump gear housing, and this is from the backside. This is what it looks like. And that is the fail point of all Coyote engines. They make it super weak, and we could do a drop test where we drop it from shoulder height and it's gonna split, crack it. So right now we're gonna put in the forged ones from MMR. And then he also has the matching crank sprocket to put in. This is how it looks from the bottom. Makes a little bit of a mess, but that's why you have rags and brake clean. So right off the bat, you could just tell the quality difference. That scoring is all from factory. These are super nice. I wish they were billet, but they're not. But they're forged and heat treated. Pretty badass. Gonna do a drop test with the outer ring. Go ahead. Boom! Just like that. From shoulder height, and the dude's 5'5". Dunzo. And that is why you upgrade oil pump gear and crank sprocket. They're super brittle. The engine just got timed again. They put on all the stuff. And so right now they're gonna go a couple times. Revolution, make sure nothing touches, make sure we're good. And then start putting everything back together. Let's go. Here we are with the timing cover back on, all the pulleys and everything. But we had broken this bolt. Went a little too tight and it snapped. So I have to extract it. As you can see, I have the spot punched in the center. I gotta drill it out, use my extractor, pull it out, and then put a new bolt in. But that's not a problem. We're like really close to wrapping up this portion of it. I still have to take this car to Ford to get it flashed back to stock because they need a stock file. And then Lund's gonna be tuning this car. Don't mind my fingy. Still got this little casting. Look at the sweat, it like crystallizes. Because I can't use my finger and I can't wash it. So it's got like salt crystals. I completely forgot to update the video, but we got it all finished up, wrapped up, ran and everything. We had to get it flashed back to stock because he's going with tune with Lund. And Lund needed a stock file and he had a different tuner before, so we got it flashed back to stock by Ford. And then we're gonna send out the base file for Lund. Today, we're gonna be doing his headers. We have RCA catless inch and 7/8 long tube headers, and those are gonna go on. And then all we have left at that point is all the suspension, the blower, and the fuel system.
I'm gonna pull up the exhaust anyways.
Here we go, baby. Got the O2 extensions, header gaskets. We don't like to use these, we like to use OEM. These aren't a bad design, but the problem is how this is a triangle rather than a circle. It's supposed to hold on the stud, but you can't always use studs where those have to be, so we have to use bolts. And getting them through there and threaded in is a bitch and a half. So those be gone. Of course, we have our high flow cats, quote unquote. Of course. And the beauties themselves. Damn, son. These are gonna turn nice and gold. A little bit of purple here on the edges. Fuck, viejo. So we're gonna get started on the headers here shortly. The car is cooled down, which is nice, so it's not a hot car to work on. So all we gotta do is pull off the intake, motor mounts, motor mount brackets, the starter, obviously the headers, the stock headers, and then put all the stuff in. And we use grade 10 hardware. So we use header bolts rather than studs. I'm sure you could use studs all the way around, but that's cheap shit, that's half-assed, so we use actual like brand new hardware. It's grade 10, so solid shit. We got this GTO that's got a nice little cam in it, but he brought it to us to figure out some oil leaks from the last shop that couldn't figure it out. So we have the transmission out and everything. We're gonna pull off the clutch and bell housing. I think it's his rear main seal that's leaking, as well as the front main seal, and more than likely the valve cover gaskets and potentially the oil pan gasket. I'm hoping not the oil pan gasket because I don't want to drop the subframe, but that's what's going on with this car. Out there is a twin turbo Gen 1, and his battery's dead, so we have it running for a little bit, that way you can charge the battery. Right now, I have to go run to Ford and Dodge to pick up some parts that we ordered for some customers' cars. One of them is getting a 311 build on the Gen 1, so Gen 3 bottom end and everything else. We're doing that. And then we're also doing a cam setup and pulley down on a Hellcat soon, so got to pick up some of the parts for that. Run a couple errands, I'll be back at the shop here in a minute. Cold start. Oh wait, it's warm, never mind, oops. Yeah, let's go run some errands real quick and we'll be right back. Oh, also, I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but you should. We just finished a car, it's a Gen 1, and we did a built motor basically. So Gen 3 bottom end, built Gen 1 heads, ported and everything. We did a 2.9 Whipple on it, fuel system, RST clutch and everything. We just wrapped that car up and it got picked up about a week ago. So today he's in his tuning process. So he got the base tuned and everything, and he's gonna go forward to that. So follow me on Instagram at Drake Built. That's my main page, and I also have Drake Built Performance, which is my shop page where I post all of our builds. You can see that car right there. Now let's go to the parts, bro. Quick update. The stock headers are out. As you can see, once they're out and you have the motor mounts and brackets out, there's so much more room. But as soon as you go to put in the headers, there's no more room. And we're gonna pull out all these studs and use actual nice hardware. But yeah, that's how we are with this. Here is a stock header, for example. It's the driver's side. Look at how big this cat is. This guy wants to track his car and do some dig racing and stuff at Irwindale, so he's trying to max out his power, and he definitely needs some long tubes for that. So we're doing that along with all his suspension, the drive shaft, and everything else. That way he could get some good times at Irwindale Speedway. We're gonna drop the entire cradle because we have a lot to do with it. So we're gonna take the whole thing out, not today, and tackle that. And now with this GTO, we pulled off his bell housing and his clutch and flywheel. And there we have our oil leak at the rear main seal. So we have to replace his rear main seal. And I also found an oil leak at his oil cooler. You can see the fittings are a little bit wet. So potentially the gasket between this, it's like a sandwich plate, and the actual housing might be leaking, or these lines. So I'm gonna put some wrenches on this, some AN wrenches, and tighten them up, see if they're tight. And then if that doesn't stop the leak, I'm gonna pull off this guy and see how the gasket looks on that. But the front timing cover is good. Front main seal is good. No oil, so we're solid up here. But everything is covered in oil from this rear main seal. Like you can see how it's all over the subframe because it travels down the oil pan or up the oil pan and keeps dripping off. And here's his trans bracket, just completely caked. He's been having this leak for quite some time and nobody could figure it out. But here at Drake Built, we figured it out. And just like that, the long tubes are in. And now during shipping, I guess, I put a big dent in here, but we're gonna pull it out, and luckily it's the inside. The little high flow cat thing slips over it, but we're gonna leave it off because we have to take off his drive shaft and the whole rear subframe anyway. So we're gonna leave it off, that way it's easy access. The car will still run at least, so we can move it in and out. But that's it. There we go. What we do with these headers is we add washers between the motor mount and motor mount bracket itself, so the power steering, so the steering shaft doesn't touch the header. It's very tight clearance, like very, very tight right here, but now it clears. All we have left is to tighten the motor mount bolts, the nut, put on the intake, and she's ready to start up and rip. So we'll do a little sound clip, open header. Open header 5.0 sound nuts. Crazy, at that point they chop. Now with the headers done, today is the day the blower's going on it. So far we're draining the coolant and then gonna have to pull off his radiator and everything else. It's got different brackets and whatnot, different fan, and then the blower's gonna sit right here. And then by customer's request, we have to get rid of all this shit right here anyway, but customer's request was, can you get some badass pictures and videos with the bumper off and everything bolted up? So that's what we're gonna do for him. But these active grill shutters are gonna be gone. All the little rubber trim like this are gonna be gone because that's where the charge pipes route. All that's gonna be left is crash bar. Damn, son. Well, we get so caught up in everything because this kit is so easy to do that we never picked back up the camera, and that was about it. You guys saw it with the intake and everything off and the front bumper off, and that was it. And now here we go, and it's done. Now this kit was used for about 100 miles, only 100 miles. The situation with this blower is the last customer that had it, the shop that he took it to out of state, fucked his car up really, really bad, put a lot of damage and everything else. And then he moved here to California and he had no more funds left over to fix the issues. So in exchange, I paid for his full bolt on and tune and everything in exchange for the blower kit. So that's why this is used for about 100 miles. So the last shop messed it up for him completely. But the kit is all done. Got the intercooler, all the intake and everything's all routed. The belt's routed. They sent us the wrong hardware for the crank pulley. So we do have it on, it's tight, but we can't get in a boost or anything. So we have it just there for now, tightened with just the bolt. But there's some extra little bolts that go inside the harmonic balancer that we have to wait for them to arrive. We did fire up the car and it ran. Obviously it runs like shit. It's a stock car. It's tuned stock from factory. Now it has a big blower on it and a lot of air that's not really supposed to be there. And so that's giving some issues with it running on idle or whatever, but that's not a problem because we're tuning this car anyway. Well, Lund is tuning this car. So Lund said basically to data log it, send them that as their base file, and they're gonna go off of that and make their changes and then work their way up because this car was having some communications error with the RTT device. Right now we're working on doing the fuel system. So here you could see we have a 4 Innovations full return style fuel system, dual pump with both regulators, the DI and regular PI. So this is what we're gonna work on next. Here's the stock fuel hat assembly, like so. And this is the new one, all billet and badass, super pretty. This thing is super fucking hot right now. It's 106 degrees out, but this is easily hotter than that. It's like absorbing heat. Currently, I am porting a GT350 manifold. You can see it ported. Don't mind this, it's just a little bit of oil residue there. Let me show you stock. This is stock, okay? And this is ported. Huge difference. This is going on a Gen 2. He came in stock. He's leaving full bolt on, ported, GT350 manifold, throttle body, and he's getting tuned by Tricky Performance. And no, we don't tune here, so don't ask me, oh, can you tune my car? We don't tune at all, for any car. Okay, so here we are. Again, it's the next day, and I keep forgetting to give update videos, but what we did is we removed the drive shaft, so there's no more drive shaft in the car. We dropped the rear subframe, so we swapped his differential from 355, so now he has 313s. He is a 10-speed transmission, so he needs the longer gears for the boost. As you can see, we already installed the differential. He has DSS 2,000 horsepower axles. He's got the vertical links as well. He has BMR diff lockouts, Viking Crusaders, and then he also has cradle lockouts, which we'll do as soon as we get the car or the subframe back in the car. Here's the stock differential, 355. Now this is just a premium car, but he has the option for 355s. We have the fuel system ran and all the AN fittings are made. All the electrical is done, but we still have to wrap up the engine bay with the harness, or sorry, not the harness, but the fuel lines themselves. These get tucked up into here against the frame rail along with the stock fuel lines, and then this gets back put in place just like factory. But for now, we just have it draped down for now, while we work on this, and then we'll wrap up this, the drive shaft, and everything else. This car is basically all wrapped up besides his under tray. We did his GT350 manifold. We locked out the IMRCs, P51C intake, ported GT350 manifold. Of course, it comes with the breather with this intake. He's got Cook's catless long tube headers, and he's getting tuned by Tricky Performance. This is a 6R80 car. He has an issue with it going into drive. It stays stuck in park. So I'm trying to figure out if it's his valet little calculator fucking thing, or if it's the shifter solenoid inside the transmission. That I'm gonna have to diagnose once we get the car tuned, because right now it runs, but I can't touch the gas because it's not tuned for that throttle body or manifold. As soon as you touch the gas, it dies. So we have to first get it tuned to let it run, and then we could diagnose that issue. We also did his oil pump gear and crank sprocket. I recommend that to everybody, boosted or NA, it doesn't matter. The oil pump gears, you guys know, they break on these cars, and that's not what you want. I showed you on that car how easy they break. The shop is a complete mess. We've been working here from 10 a.m. to 4 a.m. the following day, every single day for the last few days. I would say the last week. So here in a couple days, which we already probably cleaned by the time you're watching this, but we're spending the whole day, I think it's Labor Day or something. We're spending the whole day cleaning up shop, organizing, mopping, getting the shop organized again, and going from there. He also decided to go with the BMR drag springs for front and rear. And now I'm trying to convince the customer to getting some forged welds or Bellics or some baller ass wheels for this setup. Baller car with baller wheels, come on now. He obviously has the 3.5-inch drive shaft shop. This one's rated for 1,000. It's the drive shaft, but they can hold more than 1,000. That's the stock drive shaft here, the stock vertical link. Let's do a size comparison so you can see side by side. This one's made of thin sheet metal versus a complete billet aluminum one. So here is the rear subframe completely rebuilt. The springs, shocks, vertical links, the diff lockouts, cradle lockouts are of course gonna go in. 315 gears, and now we're gonna put it back up inside the car. If you guys didn't know, I had a knuckle buster that split my knuckle all the way to the bone. It's my second day without having my little cast on, and that's like max angle, and my fucking knuckle's starting to peel around where the scar is. You can see where it was, where I got my stitches, and you can see the little holes where the stitches were too. So now let's drop the car down onto the subframe and get the shit back together. All right, it's a few hours later. The drive shaft is up and in, Loctite, torque to spec, and the rest of the differential is in. The subframe is all hard mounted. You see the cradle lockouts themselves from BMR, diff lockouts, the spring, the Vikings. All we have left to really do is bleed the brakes on the rear, and that's it. And we also have to put on his catback. That's his catback back there. He's got full Corsa Extremes, double X that's going on this bad boy. Right now, we're about to pack up shop, put all the cars in and everything, and then we're gonna head home for the night. There's a race tonight that I'm gonna go ahead and film, so you guys will have that content, but that was already a few days ago by the time you're watching this. So let's get the shop packed up. Yet again, it's another new day. We kind of paused on this car for a couple of days waiting for his crank pulley hardware, and we just got it in. We finished up his fuel system, wired it up, all the lines are made, and we found a few fuel leaks when testing to make sure the electrical worked and everything. So we found a few fuel leaks. I fixed them all yesterday, so now we're dialed. Legit, all that's left is putting in the crank hardware. He got a different blow-off valve he wants to put on there, wrap up the front bumper, and this thing is ready to get tuned because everything's done. So we're almost done here. Drake built for the win, man. Now, if everything we had was here, like the hardware, and we had the stock file, this car would have been done in only a couple of days, but there was a couple little issues, and then he also wanted to add on parts, and while we had the car, like the blow-off valve and a couple other small things, so they were waiting for those parts. But at the end of the day, we've only had this car for 2 weeks, and he's going from bone stock to making 1,000 horsepower, so that's a huge gain. And on top of that, it's got all the suspension done to it, so this thing's ready to boogie. Inside the shop today, we're moving out all of the cars and the toolboxes, and we're gonna sweep, mop, clean, organize, and everything, because if you look, we have a bit of a clutter situation. So it's not very good for our, making us work fast. It kind of gets in our way. So we have to make the shop clean again and then go from there. But take a quick look at his fuel system. There's the regular fuel pressure regulator, the DI pressure regulator, and then of course all the fuel lines. So we have the cross section here, the one to the DI pump back there, and then the other line that meets from line to DI pump, and then the one line from the tank to this regulator. Pretty clean, if you might say so myself. Would you look at that? The car is 100% done on our part. All that's left is it has to finish being tuned with Lund. Right now it's on the base tune, so it's good enough to drive around just to check for any leaks and whatnot. We don't really drive customer cars, we don't like to, But I'm gonna give you guys just a little drive around the block so you can hear the blower and everything, see how it drives, and that's about it. He got brand new 4-star D5s matched with Mickey Thompson ET Street R's, 305 45 17s. We got the cat back on, Corsa Extreme double X pipe, and of course we obviously got the front bumper on. No leaks that we found, no coolant leaks, no fuel leaks, no oil leaks. This thing is dialed. And then we're gonna have a detailer come later today to wrap up the car, get it detailed one more time so the customer gets it in his hands perfectly clean. Here we like to, on our bigger builds, get the cars detailed for the customer just because, you know, they bring it to us, usually clean most of the time, and I want them to get it back better than how they brought it because, you know, peace of mind, and it's just another touch, like icing on the cake. I have my boy Power in there. He's gonna give you a couple revs so you can hear it. Sheesh. It's so much louder with the front bumper off. You can hear that little blow off valve flutter, but now with the front bumper back on, you can't really hear it so much. As you can see, we have a carbon fiber steering wheel. I do have to pull off the airbag and double check the torque because we didn't tighten it down super tight because he was gonna get the harness that he was missing for this. He bought it used, but he said, forget the lights, I don't need them. So we're gonna pull off the airbag after this drive and torque it down. But you can see, no check engine lights, nothing. Brakes are fully bled, fresh fluid. This thing's got 4,600 miles. This thing's like still like a brand new car. So for now, let's go on a little test drive, nice and slow around the block. Got the vet posted up. What? Now this car was completely stock besides the tune, and the drivability was complete dog shit. Like, it's the worst drivability car I've ever felt in my life. And it would pick up, it would misshift and stuff. And this is a base tune only, and for everything done, this thing drives perfect. What sucks is you guys can't hear the blow-off valve all that well, but me in person, I can hear it. Now, we're not gonna take it too high on the RPMs because, again, this is just a base tune. We have to make sure his AFRs are all mixed right and whatever else timing related the tuner does. I'm not a tuner, so I don't know what goes on there. With all of his suspension done too, it fucking floats like a little glove. Of course, he's gonna have to dial in his Viking shocks on his own to whatever he prefers, but that's for him to do, not us. Man, I wish you guys could hear the flutter. I don't know if you can. So as you heard from the outside POV, you can hear the blow-off valve pretty good when you're driving it. You kind of get into boost a little bit. It's maybe seeing a pound or two. I'm only going to 3,500 RPM about, so that's nothing. Right now he is on stock pulley, but he has the pulley to pulley down and make up to 1,000. And so we're gonna dial in the tune with Lund. They're doing all the tuning. And then that's gonna be on the stock pulley. And then we'll pulley down on E85. Of course, he's gonna dial it in on E85 right now as well. He's on 91 right now, just on the base tune. Once the stock pulley's dialed, we're gonna pulley down, make that 1,000, and be solid. And I know I didn't do all that good recording this whole process. Just when you get started working on the car, you get busy and you stop picking up the phone and you got other shit going on. So this isn't the only car that we've been working on. We have multiple cars every day, so you lose track of having to record this car and everything else. So that's my bad. But at least this isn't like some long ass video or whatever. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys would love a long video, but for us, it's nice to have a quick video on how to build a 1,000 horsepower car. That's actually gonna handle on a hook too. But that's gonna conclude today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if you guys want more shop content. I don't mind recording the shop content, just some of the stuff we don't film. Some of it's kind of kept low key, like that Hellcat right there. But stuff like this, I don't mind filming that at all. And we do it all the time. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Deuces.